The forgotten salute. You don't belong here, old lady. This space is for real veterans. The words, sharp as shattered glass, echoed through the stone courtyard of the National Veterans Memorial Hall. Nora Bell, wrapped in a worn army jacket 2 sizes too big and frayed at the cuffs, stood silently. She didn't react, not visibly, just stood there, trembling slightly in the winter wind, clutching a tightly folded American flag to her chest like a sacred relic. Around her, eyes darted away. Some watched with pity, some with embarrassment. Others chuckled, uncomfortable but too cowardly to speak. She offered no protest, no defense. With slow, deliberate dignity, she stepped back into the bitter cold, retreating from the entrance she had so longed to pass through. Not far behind her, footsteps thundered down the marble interior corridor. The doors burst open. "Where is the woman you just humiliated?" a commanding voice roared. Everyone froze. Major General Clayton Brooks stood tall in full uniform, his presence swallowing the space like a force of nature. He wasn't just any officer, he was a legend. His voice cracked through the silence like thunder rolling off distant mountains. Eyes turned, hands stilled, and hearts skipped beats. But Nora Bell wasn't there to witness it. She had been planning this day for weeks. December 7th, Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. A sacred date marked on her calendar with a trembling circle drawn in pencil. She'd set it aside like a pilgrimage. At 89, Nora didn't drive anymore. Her vision blurred, and arthritis curled her fingers like dried leaves. But her mind remained sharp as a bayonet. She remembered everything. Korea in 52, Da Nang in 67. Faces, names, screams, silence, loss. She woke at 4 that morning, pressed her old uniform herself, pausing to admire the single bronze star pinned to her chest. Her granddaughter had offered a ride, but Nora gently refused. "You've got a life to tend to, sweetheart," she'd said, though truthfully, she needed to go alone. Some roads, especially the ones paved in memory, were best walked without company. The journey required 3 buses and a lot of time. But she'd made it. Or so she thought. When she finally arrived at the granite steps of the museum, the banner above the doorway read, "A tribute to all who served." She had smiled. That smile faded quickly when she met the eyes of the young security guard standing under the archway. "ID?" he asked curtly. She gave him a warm smile. "I served, son. Korea and Vietnam. 21st Infantry in Korea, then support logistics in Nam." He squinted at her, then her trembling hands, the faded patches on her jacket. "We need official military ID, ma'am. Or discharge papers." "I haven't had ID in years," she replied gently. "But I brought this." She held out a photograph, black and white, weathered, but clear. A young woman in uniform, standing with her unit in front of a tank. The guard didn't bother to look closely. "Could be anyone," he muttered. "Rules are rules. No ID, no entry." A woman in designer boots scoffed beside them. "They let anyone wander around these places now. Pathetic." Others smirked. Some shook their heads. Nora said nothing. She held the folded flag tighter, as if shielding it from their contempt. "You'll have to step aside," the guards said. Nora nodded. She didn't argue, didn't cry, didn't even frown. She simply turned and descended the stone steps, her knees aching with each movement. N01 noticed the woman in the trench coat across the street, watching everything. She raised her phone to her ear and dialed a number with trembling fingers. Inside, the ceremony rolled on. The museum's director gave a stirring speech about courage and legacy. A children's choir sang patriotic hymns. A slideshow flashed faces of young, telegenic veterans with bright smiles. The audience clapped. Some dabbed tears from their eyes. Outside, Nora sat on a cold metal bench, waiting for a bus. The flag in her lap was the one that had draped her brother's coffin. Sergeant Jonah Bell, 1st Battalion, lost in the mountains of North Korea. She had kept that flag folded in a glass case for 60 years. Today, she had brought it out. Inside those warm halls, she thought, they honored a version of service that was clean, tidy, easy to clap for. But she, Old, slow, wrinkled, inconvenient, didn't fit their mold. They didn't want her story. It wasn't glossy enough. Miles across the city, Lieutenant Colonel Evelyn Marsh stormed into a federal office building. Her boots clicked on polished tiles like gunshots. She had seen the video, already posted online by the woman in the trench coat. Her anger barely contained. She entered General Brooks' office without knocking. "Sir, you need to see this." The general looked up, eyes narrowing at her tone. Evelyn handed him the phone. He watched the clip. Silence fell. "That woman," Evelyn said, "is Nora Bell. Served with distinction in 2 wars. Bronze Star. Purple Heart. No surviving family except a granddaughter. That flag she's holding? It covered her brother's casket." Brooks didn't say a word. He stared at the screen. "She pulled my father from a collapsing barracks under mortar fire in Nam," he whispered after a moment. "She kept pressure on his wounds for 8 hours until medevac arrived. My dad said he wouldn't have lasted 1 more minute without her." He stood. "Cancel my meetings. Get the motorcade ready. We're going to the museum." Within minutes, 3 black government vehicles cut through traffic, escorted by unmarked patrols. When they arrived at the museum, the crowd parted instinctively. The general emerged, fury simmering beneath his controlled expression. Inside, the ceremony was reaching its climax. The security guard still stood at his post, smugly scanning IDs. Until he looked up and froze. The general's voice was quiet, but lethal. "Where is the woman you turned away?" Sir, there was no ID, just some old picture, and you don't belong here, old lady," Brooks interrupted, repeating the words back to him, each syllable like a hammer strike. "That's what you said to her, isn't it?" The guard went pale. The museum director approached, flustered. "General Brooks, what an unexpected honor. You gave a speech about honoring service," Brooks said, voice low and dangerous. "And your staff threw out a decorated veteran who's bled for this country." The room fell silent. Reporters, previously focused on the choir, turned their cameras. "You turned away a hero," Brooks said. "Nora Bell saved more lives than half the officers in this building, and you dismissed her like trash." He turned to the crowd, raising his voice. "She pulled my father from the wreckage in Da Nang. He never forgot her. Neither did I. And now you all will remember her name." Evelyn Marsh leaned in. "She's still outside, sir." "Then we'll go to her," Brooks said. The entire hall emptied as if summoned by conscience. Guests followed him out to the plaza. Across the street, still seated on the bench dusted with snow, Nora Bell blinked in confusion. The officer who approached was young, stiff-backed, respectful. "Ma'am, General Brooks requests your presence." "Clayton Brooks?" she asked, surprised. "Yes, ma'am." She stood slowly, her legs protesting. But her spine straightened. The museum steps. General Brooks waited. When Nora approached, he saluted sharply. The plaza held its breath. "Nora Bell," he said. "My father was Sergeant Daniel Brooks, 3rd Battalion. Da Nang. You saved him." Her eyes filled. "Danny Brooks' boy? You look like him." He stepped forward. "On behalf of the United States Army, and on behalf of my family, I offer my deepest apology." Then, one by one, uniforms began to line the steps. Marines, sailors, Air Force, retired, active. Salutes rose around her like a forest of respect. Nora trembled, but not from the cold. She held out the folded flag. "For the next generation," she said softly. "For the ones who still carry the load." Brooks accepted the flag with reverence. Tears in his eyes, as Nora mounted the steps she had been barred from. She no longer shuffled. She marched. Proud, straight, whole. Inside the great hall, she didn't need to speak. Her presence silenced the crowd. America the Beautiful played softly in the background. The ceremony resumed, not with song, but with truth. And from that day on, no veteran entered those doors without being reminded of her. Nora Bell, Master Sergeant. Warrior. Witness. Sister in arms. A story no one would ever forget.